The world has never needed hypnotherapists more than it needs them right now, just purely on an anxiety basis, but also on all kinds of problems, overeating, smoking, vaping, drinking, etc. But the average hypnotherapist makes over $100,000 a year. That's your average one, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is that it actually, when you help somebody else, if you're a right-minded individual, it feels good. Right? Mm-hmm. So people who are sociopaths, which is another word for like being super selfish, right? They don't care, whether they help somebody or not, because it's all about them, right? But your average, normal, functional human being, when they do just some act of kindness or they help somebody with something, it feels good, feels empowering, right? Mm-hmm. And as a hypnotherapist, you're able to help people with problems that have maybe, been there all their lives, or things that are holding them back. I do this when I ask a group of people, I go, who here is at 100% of their true potential? And only one person has ever said yes. And that was Tyler Winklevoss, said, at this moment, I'm at 100% of my true potential, but he had just invented Facebook. So I think he was telling the truth, right? Yeah. But nobody else says yes to it. And it seems to me the things that hold people back are self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, fear of it being overwhelming or something like that, or just not thinking big enough, not thinking rich enough, not thinking how amazing life could be. And so as a hypnotherapist, your job really is to give people a richer life, is to give them more freedom. If they can't look at a bar of chocolate without having to demolish it, the chocolate is in charge and not them, right? If they can't walk out and talk to a group of people because they're terrified what people might think of them, then they're limited in their ability to connect and communicate with people. And the great thing is hypnotherapy works, as I say, for most people, most of the time, it's safe. And it works really fast. I work with people, I have been now for nearly 40 years, and I see people change in one session. I remember I was doing a TV show a few years ago, and we were waiting in the green room. I was doing a spider phobia. We had a tarantula spider, and there were these two lovely ladies there. Mm-hmm. And one of them said, could you fix her problem with relationships? I went, and this is an attractive looking lady, right? And I went, sure, what's the problem? She goes, just keep dating the same kind of guys, the same kind of problems. So I went, okay, so I want you to put that part of you that wants to be in a relationship in this hand, and the part of you that sabotages, that stops it, in this hand. And she went, okay. So the part that's sabotaging is trying to protect her because it doesn't want her to get hurt, but it's also stopping her from relating. Then bring your hands together. And I said, now let your unconscious mind figure out how they're both going to do their positive intent, their positive job. Mm-hmm. And she went, it feels like it's possible. Bam, I integrated them. Mm-hmm. Anyway, she wrote to me a few months later. She said, I've started this relationship and it's going really well. I mean, could be a coincidence. Oh, that's nice. Then she wrote to me a few months later and she said, actually, I'm getting married. And then she wrote to me and said, I'm having a child. And she said, do you think it could have been anything to do with that process that we did that took 5 minutes? And I went, oh, maybe just a coincidence. So sometimes change can happen like that in an instant. Other times it takes a bit of time.
So Paul, I see so many use cases of self-hypnosis or hypnosis in general. But are there times when hypnosis doesn't work?
Sure. I don't know any pill or potion that works for everyone every single time. But I can count on one hand the people I have not been able to cure in the last 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, sometimes I just didn't have the skills at the time. Mm-hmm. The thing is that there are sometimes a lot of variables. Mm-hmm. The skill of the operator, the willingness of the person to participate and wanting to change, that sort of thing. But generally, what we say is, there's no such thing as a resistant client. There's only an inflexible therapist, right? Mm. So if somebody has, 8 ways of trying to avoid you helping them change, you need 9 ways of persuading them, right? Mm. So yeah, it doesn't work for everyone every single time. But we find when we do studies into people that either read my books or use one of my programs, that they work for most people most of the time. And that's a lot better than, say, traditional old-fashioned therapy, which was, it was all about analyzing everything, right? So I keep meeting these people who've been in therapy for like 10 years, right? And they can talk to you like a shrink. They'll go, I've got all this unexpressed rage towards my father, and they've rationalized everything, but it hasn't made a single bit of difference to their behavior. Whereas sometimes I don't know exactly what it is I did that worked. It just did. Because all I'm interested in is the output, is the person changing, right? You know, this guy came to see me a few years ago, and he had insomnia. And he came back about 2 weeks later, and he said, well, it's not cured. I said, how much better is it? He says, oh, about 80% better. I went, listen to yourself. You know? So this guy is a glass half empty, right? He's looking for where it isn't rather than where it is. Yeah. And the important thing is, I think, is you get more of what you focus on in life. You know, when people ask me, what's one piece of advice you'd give people? I'll say you get more of what you focus on. Because too many people are thinking, I wish I wasn't overweight, or I wish I wasn't shy, I wish I wasn't single, I wish I wasn't broke, and whatever, yeah? And they're not thinking in terms of what it is they do want. Sure, you got to know what it is you don't want so you can move away from it, right? But I like to think about what it is I do want, or think about things I don't want to have happen, you know, bad health, or, you know, I don't want this particular issue or problem. But I generally think in terms of what it is I want, and I think about it over and over and over again. And what that does is in a way, it sort of organizes all of your thinking, all of your behavior, all of your energy as well, you know, because, you know, everything, this table, you, me, etc., are atoms and molecules vibrating at a density and frequency. It's all, so essentially the whole universe is made of energy, right? Yeah. And the way that we focus our energy determines the results that we get.